More than 170 people are confirmed dead and hundreds more remain missing in the Sewol ferry disaster in South Korea. Many aboard the ship were students and staff from an area high school. And for some Southern California residents, the tragedy hits very close to home. The greater Los Angeles area has the largest number of Korean Americans in the U.S. David Lee reflects on the impact of the ferry tragedy on the community as a whole.
We're in total shock, and when I say this, I think I'm speaking on behalf of all the Koreans who live in the States. I mean, it was total tragedy, and I think because reason that it's not a natural disaster, this is a man-made disaster. I have a lot of relatives still living in Korea, and they're suffering from traumatic syndromes because they feel the same way that what if it was my children, what if it was my relatives?
Hashim-Waris, president of a nonprofit organization involved in Asian American community development, says the ferry tragedy touches on often undiscussed broader issues within the Korean community as a whole.
Every Korean American feels a sense of shame and responsibility, and that there is hope that there will be true reformation. In addition to that, there is also the teacher, the principal, the assistant principal who committed suicide.
She's referring to 52-year-old Kang Min-kyo, the vice principal of Danwon High School. Many of its students were on a class trip aboard the Sewol ferry when tragedy struck. The vice principal was rescued, but ultimately hung himself. South Korea used to lead the world in its suicide rate. It's now third on the global scale.
But the mental health issues here in the United States for Korean and Asian Americans is also very, very prevalent, and yet there's no discussion and resources.
Lloyd Yonsu Lee manages a shopping plaza in Koreatown. He, like many in the Korean community, is left with more questions than answers.
It's impossible. I can't believe that, but we're so sad every single day. When we have the meeting, we discuss about why it happened, what happened.
Many Korean Americans hope the tragedy will lead to more transparency in safety requirements and other policies in South Korea. Again, David Lee.
Get a clean start from the get-go. I mean, we gotta get transparency system in our politics, in all the governments and local governments. If we had to follow the protocol of the captains or the crews or all the government officials, follow the protocol from the start, I think we could have saved more people than we just did right now.
Hashim remains hopeful that some good can come from the disaster.
The world and the country can come together to support these families who really need the help.